This is the normal swab I'm holding up here now, and for everybody at home. A very valuable object. There's only one company in the entire country that makes these up in Maine. All right, here's the swab. Is it true that this was the swab that the nurse was actually using on you, and that at first it went into your nose and disappeared, so that in scale, this was the actual swab that was being used?
The mainstream media is finally sorta trying to barely come to terms with the idea that Andrew Cuomo is an awful human being and terrible governor at his very best. Now, I've been screaming about this for nearly the past year, and I don't know if I should be happy or sad that the rest of the world is finally starting to get on board with this idea. And I take it really quite personally because he basically ruined my entire life. Now, back in March of 2020, this man shut down the entire economy of New York in an effort to save the most vulnerable population, saying things like, well, if it saves just one life, it will all be worth it, which we now is, well, it was absolute nonsense. It sounded ridiculous when he said it, but knowing what we know now, it sounds even more absurd. This man was on television almost every single day saying things like, if you're eager to get back to work, then you should just take an essential job. And of course, this nursing home scandal just won't go away. His aide admitted that they had been lying about the deaths inside the nursing homes. He says that they were reported accurately and honestly, which obviously is untrue. But my thing about the nursing homes is I think there's something far more sinister than just shoving sick people into these houses, because he was screaming about ventilators and, oh, you tell the...
What am I going to do with 400 ventilators when I need 30,000? You pick the 26,000 people who are going to die because you only sent 400 ventilators.
Meanwhile, he had a stockpile of ventilators that we now know were actually more harmful than good. We weren't allowed to use HCQ. He didn't use any of the field hospitals, one out in Central Park that was built by some Christians, so it was immediately protested as homophobic or racist or ism or whatever it was. There was a field hospital out in the Brooklyn Navy Yard that went unused. Of course, the Javits Center and the hospital ship that was on the river, all of those went basically unused. Why is that? Is it perhaps because he wanted those numbers to skyrocket so he could grab more power, but when the truth started to catch up to him, he obviously had to deny the whole thing? I don't know. I could be wrong. He also somehow had time to write a book back in October about the leadership lessons or whatever. He somehow got an Emmy, but I guess that sort of makes sense because bad actors are who Emmys typically go to. Then he stumbles through a more recent press conference where people are asking him about the 25% capacity in restaurants, and he says, well, 25% is better than zero. He's such a smug jerk, and that's putting it nicely. He also reopens the economy only days after Joe Biden is inaugurated.
It's not an inauguration because it wasn't an election. An election is what's on the statute books in the states, and those states did not run their elections like they're supposed to run an election. Therefore, it was not an election. It was a nice little exercise in counting stuff. It was a survey, right? It was a rigged survey. It was not an election.
Now he's saying that the numbers are the best that they ever been. The case numbers are the best they've ever been since late November, which is also very convenient. He also, in the same press conference that he talked about the 25% capacity, told the poor black and brown folks of New York that they just need to get over the vaccine hesitation.
There's two issues on social equity. People have to have access, poor communities, black community, Latino community, and they have to accept it and get past the vaccine hesitancy.
And he follows up that pressure on the black and brown communities with the super deluxe cringe rap video that is built to convince black people that the vaccine is totally safe and effective.
I got a couple of things I want to talk to y'all about.
Ain't no swab testing. Little girl, you look sick.
Vaccine, we got the vaccine. We can get back to normal. Let me inform you. Let's all get the vaccine.
There's a lot of soap from the front to the back to the front. Sing the hook where you at.
Downtown.
If Doc says it's good, trust me, it's good. Now let's all get the backseat.